Shabbat Shalom. Good morning. Oh, we've got a good group here this morning. So thank you, Chris and Gabby and Avram. It's we were singing to the Lamb this morning, the Lamb that is seated on the throne. And incidentally, that's what we're speaking about today. So thanks a lot for the preparation. I think as we are looking at this parasha Vayera today, what does Vayera mean in Hebrew? What does it mean? And I appeared. He appeared. It's the appearance that it's speaking about. What would you think is the Greek translation of that name? Might be. What about the revealing of? We find that in the Revelations, the revealing of the Messiah. So as we are speaking about Parasha Vayera today, we must think about the context of humanity, the redemption of humanity from the beginning to the end. And what we are seeing, and I think what we are experiencing, is the revealing of the Messiah in the earth. So today we are speaking about Parasha Vayera, and thank you. I think CN has bought me some time last week. He had a half an hour talk, and this is going to sort of make use of the room that he has bought me. So thanks a lot. Josh, can you just... So, Exodus 6:3 says, "And I appeared unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and Yaakov as El Shaddai." And the word that this parasha is coming from, Vayera, is that word, "and I appeared." And our Father has been making his appearance to the patriarchs from the beginning of time, and he's been revealing his purposes in the earth from right in the very beginning. And as he has done so in the past, he will do so in the future. So I was thinking about the appearance of Yeshua this week. And what this is going to be, I hope you love Scripture, because this is primarily going to be a reading of Scripture today, as it refers to the coming of the Redeemer in the time of Moses and everything that is happening there, and Yeshua and the Lamb in future. We're going to try to speak about 4,000 years of human history in an hour and a half, maybe. So it's Revelation 1:1 speaks about the revelation of Yeshua the Messiah, which Elohim gave to show his servants what has to take place with speed. It's interesting that that word with speed is included there. He signified by sending his messenger, his servant Yochanan, who bore witness to the word of Elohim and the witness of Yeshua the Messiah. So if we bring that back to the prophet Ezekiel, and I think that's part of the prophetic reading of today, it says, "When I have gathered the house of Israel from all people whom they were scattered." So we saw the scattering of the house of Israel in the time of Messiah after he came, AD 70, 135. And Israel was scattered and seeded across the earth. And he says, "As I have scattered them, I will be set apart in them before the eyes of the Gentiles, and they shall dwell in the land which I gave to my servant Yaakov." So after the scattering has taken place, there is a regathering that the Father is organizing, and I think we have seen that in our generation, we've got people here living that saw the regeneration of the house of Israel in the land of Israel in 48. And I think what the Father is busy doing is that part where he says, "I will be set apart in them before the eyes of the nations." And as we're going through a shaking that Israel has been experiencing for some years now, this is exactly what's taking place. Is our Father is being set apart in the eyes of the nations with the experience that we see in Israel. Verse 26 says, "And they shall dwell safely and build houses and plant vineyards and dwell safely when I execute judgment on all those around them who despise them." There's a few people in the earth today that fits into that category. "And they will know," the people that despise both them and Israel will know that I am the Elohim of Israel. I am the God of Israel. So as we are working through the plagues today, We must know with every redemption that takes place every redeemer, Moses up to at the end, there will be judgment and mercy shown to different people groups. And I think this is what happened in the days of Moses, and we will see that in the time of the Lamb. Because all three of those are linked. We see that from the time of Moses, when he appeared as the Redeemer of the nation of Israel, taking them out of Egypt through a time of testing, tribulation, time in the wilderness, to restore them to their land. We saw Yeshua coming, restoring the hearts of the people back to the kingdom. And on the throne there is a lamb that will be part and parcel of the final redemption. So there is a redemptive pattern that we see with all of them, and we are going to assume that you are familiar with most of these scriptures. So I'm going to read through them quickly because there are 40 of these slides, and we need to read through them quickly. Otherwise, the coffee is going to be cold. So Moses says in Exodus 3:7, essentially that our Father has seen the oppression of my people through the people of Egypt. He has seen the outcries of Israel in the midst of their tribulation. And verse 9 says, see, the cry of the children of Israel has come to me, and I have also seen the oppression by which this nation of Egypt has oppressed them. And now come, I am sending to you, Moses, to Pharaoh, to bring the people, the children, out of this place of oppression. In Yeshua's day, we see that this is a time of showing grace and mercy. And Isaiah 52 paints the picture of the good news that he brought. He says that, let's just read it. How pleasant upon the mountain are the feet of him who brings good news. Who proclaims peace, who brings good news, who proclaims deliverance, and who says to Zion, your Elohim reigns. And verse 10 says, our Father will lay bare his set-apart arm in the eyes of all the nations, and all the ends of the earth shall see the deliverance of our Elohim. That was true in those days. It is true in the days that we are living. And in the days that we are going through, we can easily look at the news and be discouraged. We can look at the news and don't understand what's happening in the earth and think that the enemy has been roaring like a lion and get despondent in the process. But things seems to be falling apart. Things are falling in place rather than falling apart. And it doesn't matter what the rulers of this age are doing. Our Father has got the people in his hands. The nations of the earth is in the Father's hands. I don't know what it is in English, but it says in Afrikaans that die lotgevalle van die nasies is in die hande van die Vader. And let's just follow that theme through as we go. But then the Lamb in Revelation 5:9 is, if we look at the redemptive pattern, it says, maybe I should get my glasses on and we can see what it says. Not that one, I've got two here today, one on standby. And they sang a new song saying, you are worthy to take the scroll and open its seals, because you were slain and have redeemed us to Elohim. Who's the one that's opening the seals? It says the Lamb is opening the seals. So that it says, you were slain and have redeemed us to Elohim by your blood of every tribe and tongue and people and nation. So the ones that's under the throne, the ones that have been going through martyrdom, they are crying out and they are singing a song that says that you are worthy to take the scroll, opening its seals. And we know what's happening when the seals is being undone. What's happening when the 7 seals are broken? We see a manifestation and a reverberation through the earth, and the nations are in uproar, and things are going wild across the face of the earth. So what has started with a pattern that has been created in Moshe, and if we read Revelation, we must understand Revelation from the framework and the foundation that's been laid by the redemption of Israel from Egypt. And these are not individual events. They are separated by thousands of years, but the thematic connections are astounding in what's happening in the earth. Yeshua completes what Moshe has started so many years ago. So if we look at Messiah and the restoration of what's happening, firstly, when Moshe came, judgment was on the nation of Egypt. Redemption and freedom was in Israel. Judgment took place in the time that Moses was there. But when Yeshua came, he showed grace and mercy in his first coming. You agree? Even when he stood up in Nazareth and he read from Luke 4, he says, "The Spirit of Vayera is upon me, because he anointed me to preach the good tidings to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim the release of the captives and the recovering of sight to the blind, and set at liberty them that are bruised, to proclaim the acceptable year of Vayera." That was his mission, is to create an opportunity where Israel becomes the light to the nations and they are scattered abroad. And through the testimony of Israel, people are getting back into the faith and the relationship with our Father. So, speaking about the plagues, first plague was when the symbol of life, water, and we are so thankful for our Heavenly Father that gave us the symbol of life in this week. In the midst of excessive drought in George, we've had wonderful rain, and we thank Him from the depths of our hearts. But the symbol of life has been turned into blood. That is, in this context, they couldn't use it, they couldn't drink it, they couldn't consume it. It was showing death, that the judgment that took place in Israel. But when Yeshua came on the first, what He has done on the first miracle at the wedding in Canaan, He turned water, the symbol of life, into a symbol of exuberant joy and fullness at the symbol of the wedding. So what has happened in the days of Moses, where judgment has taken place, the release has taken place in Messiah's time and his experience on the earth. So the reverse is happening when, to a certain extent, decreation is happening in Moses' experience, and the renewal is taking place in Messiah. So it says that frogs came out of... What was frog symbol of in the time of Moshe? What did it resemble? It is the god of fertility. It was something that they honored, revered, and almost, I think, worshipped in the time of Moshe. So when Messiah was here, he called the evil spirits out, depicted in Revelations as frogs. Spoke to those frogs. So then lice, gnats, and flies came as part of the 10 plagues, and it brought about sickness and boils and problems to animals and men. And Yeshua was restoring. He went out of his way to heal those that are afflicted with sickness. The livestock got death and boils on... I'm combining some of these plagues. Boils on men, livestock that died and got sick. And Yeshua heals the lepers that's got skin diseases in the time of his coming. It says in Exodus that 9:19, it says that storms that brought hail and fire, severe storms like Egypt has never seen, took place in the time of Moshe. Yeshua spoke to the storms and calmed the storms and brought peace, shalom. Locusts were devouring food and the produce in Egypt, while Messiah fed the thousands from a little. Darkness came into the time of Moshe as a judgment, while Messiah recovered the sight to the blind, and he showed himself and declared himself to be the light of the world. So whatever happened in Moshe, the decreation that happened in Moshe, Yeshua brought the opposite in a sign of deliverance, redemption, and life. When the firstborn died in the time of Egypt, Messiah was resurrected as the first fruit of those that will rise from the dead. There's a restoration that's taking place in Messiah. So there's a couple of themes that we can see in this, in the comparison between what Moses' experience was and Messiah's experience was. Firstly, it's the focus on judgment and the focus on grace. So in Moses' day, our Father showed His power, His overwhelming power in comparison to the power of the Egyptians. He demolished everything that they worshipped and adored. Yeshua showed our Father's power and His authority through restoring lives and giving mercy. If we think about the issue of the lamb, is that the blood of the lamb in Moses' day gave freedom and life to the firstborn of Israel, while the blood of the lamb provides deliverance from death to all who believes. It is amazing that everything that Moses went through is an example and a foundation that was laid, so that when the prophet, unlike Moses, when he came, he would restore and renew and refresh. We spoke about the undoing of creation in Moses' day, and in Messiah's day, through His creation, we are the curse of death that was what was on the nations, that was on Israel, everybody, that curse is lifted, and now we can live in the freedom that Messiah has promised. So, if we take I was almost tempted to say quick, but if we take just a summary of the experience of Moses and compare it to the experience of Messiah from birth to the end, then the parallels are just, we just can't skip over it. We need to speak about it. So I'm just going to read through this. If you want to say something, put up your hand and we'll make a note of it. All right. So in Moses' life, Exodus 1 says that Pharaoh commanded all the baby boys to be killed. We know that well. In Yeshua's life, Herod did the same. He commanded that all the boys from 2 years and under should be put to death. What about the lamb? Let's think about what the lamb, the expression, the experience, the reality. It says in Revelation 13:8 that all those dwelling on the earth whose names have not been found written in the book of life of the slain lamb, the lamb that was slain from the foundation of the world, shall worship him. So there is a sense of the lamb being slain. So I was always thinking, now there's a close connection between Yeshua, obviously the King of Kings, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, and the experience of the lamb. So they are one, the same, but there is symbolically a difference made. There is symbolically they represented as two. So they were preserved by our Father as Moses was preserved in the ark. In Exodus 2, he went for an ark ride. Messiah was preserved and called out to Egypt. In Matthew 2, it says that dream was given to Joseph. They moved to Egypt for a while and they came back to fulfill the prophecy that says, out of Mitzrayim I have called my son. So we're familiar with these scriptures. If you want to go through them afterwards, please do, but I'm just going to browse through them. And then of the Lamb it says that I have looked and I saw in the midst of the throne, in the Revelation 5:6, the 4 living creatures, and in the midst of the elders a lamb standing as having been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of Elohim sent out into all the earth. The lamb that was slain, that was resurrected, is standing next to the throne, is preserved by our Father. The same reality exists. So as a deliverer, Moses came to Israel to deliver them from slavery. And in Exodus 3:10, our Father says explicitly to him, I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people out of Mitzrayim. So it's a physical people group going to a physical place. If you look at Yeshua's experience, it says in John 3:17, for Elohim did not send his Son into the world to judge the world, but that the world through him might be saved. Speaking about every tribe, tongue, and nation will not be judged at the time of his first coming, but that we will have the opportunity to be saved, to receive our redemption. The Lamb redeems the people from every nation. In 5:9, Revelation 5:9, it says that they sang a new song saying, "You are worthy to take the scroll and to open its seals, because you were slain and have redeemed us to Elohim by your blood out of every tribe, tongue, and people and nation." The earth is redeemed through the blood of the Lamb, being brought back in the time of the final redemption. There was a time that Moses confronted the spiritual power of Pharaoh in Exodus 5-12. Yeshua disarms the rulers and authorities. Colossians 2:15 says that he has stripped the principalities and the authorities and made a public display of them, having prevailed over them in it. So, in the time of Messiah's first coming, this was his primary purpose, or one of his main purposes, is to demolish the powers and principalities, and so that we can be set free. In the time of Revelation 19:19, it says, "I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to fight him who sat on the horse and his army. And the beast was seized, and with him the false prophet who worked signs in his presence, by which he led astray those receiving the mark of the beast and those worshipping his image. The two of them were thrown alive into the fire burning with sulfur, lake of fire." So if you think about the time of Moses, of signs and wonders, this is part of what we are speaking about. The plagues that the nation of Egypt and Israel dwelling there went through. Exodus 7-11. This is what Moses was called to, is to bring judgment on the nation of Egypt and bring Israel out to the Eretz Israel. When Yeshua came, he revealed, miracles revealed the kingdom of our Father in Messiah in Acts 2:22, where he says, "Men of Israel, hear these words. Yeshua of Nazareth, a man of Elohim, from Elohim, having been pointed out to you by mighty works." How was he pointed out? By mighty works, wonders, signs, which Elohim did through him in your midst, as you yourself know. This one giving up by set purpose and foreknowledge of Elohim, you have impaled. So as Moses was sent to bring judgment, Messiah was sent by mighty works to show the redemption and the grace and the mercy that our Father has brought to him, to the people in the time that he was on the earth. And when we look at the opening of the seals and the final judgments that the Lamb, the King, the Lion of the tribe of Judah will bring, we find that in Revelation 15:16. 15:1 says, "I saw another sign in the heaven, great and marvelous, and 7 messengers having the 7 last plagues for the wrath of Elohim." And this is the reality that we are awaiting. This is what we are preparing our lives for, is that a judgment that took place in the time of Moshe, grace was shown to the earth by Messiah, so that we can bow our knees before him, that we can be part of his covenantal relationship with him, so that we can align our lives with him, so that we will be redeemed in the end. But if we do not, if the nations do not bow their knees before our Father through Messiah, then judgment will come. There's the aspect of mediation of a covenant that Moshe went through, and he brought to Israel the covenant made at Sinai. From Exodus 19, the covenant was introduced in Exodus 19. It was realized in Exodus 24. Yeshua mediates the new covenant, where he says, "And because of this, he, the mediator of a new covenant, so that death, having taken place for redemption for the transgression under the first covenant, of those who are called might receive the promise of everlasting inheritance." This was a transition in Messiah, so that the reality of death will be passed away and we can be joined into life with Messiah. So what about Revelation 20:11-15, where the Lamb brings about the enforcing of this covenant realities? It says, I saw the dead, small and great, standing before the throne. Verse 13 says, the sea gave up the dead that were in it. Verse 14 says, and death of the grave was thrown into the lake of fire. And this is the second death. So the enforcement of whatever took place through the ages is now done by the Lamb. And our rewards and judgment is received at the end, just before we enter into the millennium. So that's actually at the end of the millennium. There was the aspect of blood saving Israel at the time of Pesach. Yeshua is our Passover lamb, like 1 Corinthians 5 describes. He offered himself for us, and his blood made a way for us from death to life. And Revelation 12:11 says they overcame him, those that survived to the end, that they overcame him because of the blood of the Lamb and because of the word of their testimony, and they did not love their lives unto death. These aspects of the nations being under stress, judgment coming over the face of the earth, is going to be the reality of what the nations should prepare themselves for. I think if we look at what's happening across the world today, we can see that a great shaking is busy taking place. Think what's happening in the people of Iran at the moment. Iran is going through a major shake-up, and this will influence the reality of the whole Mideast. And it's amazing that this has taken place, as Christy said this morning, from the time of, it started in the month of Tevet, the 10th month. And as we are looking at this amazing trend and speed with what it is taking place, we know that the Father's hand is in this, and we should pray earnestly for the people of Iran, so that the place of where the church, the fastest growing church on the face of the earth at the moment, is Iran. So in this type of a tribulation that's taking place in Iran, what do you think is happening to the spiritual reality of the people that's living there? They are being shaken to the core. The young people are showing the clerics of the Muslim faith away. Women are turning around. The people with the message of Messiah will be accepted. This is the time. This is typically what the tribulation experience is doing. It's opening people's hearts and ears to the message of the kingdom. And this is our calling. What's happening in Iran is first fruits of what will spread over the earth. I think so. Must be. Unfortunately, our country is aligning ourselves. We are choosing sides in these days. So our lives should resemble the testimony of Messiah. Stay true to the path that he has called us to walk in, so that the judgment that will befall the earth. This is the good news of what the people of Goshen went through. There will be a set-apart people in the land of Egypt, living in Goshen, that while judgment is taking place, they will be protected, provided for, and be safe. You agree? So as we go on, I just want to draw the parallels of what's happening from the beginning to the end. Isaiah speaks about the Father knew the end from the beginning. And I think this is why the plagues and the events of the time of the Exodus was done in a specific way, because our Father could motivate this exit from Egypt in the first day. But he drew it out over a period of time, showing himself to be strong, so that the people's hearts can be changed, and that they will meet him and know who he is, so that they can make a decision. That's why a lot of the people of the nations joined Israel in their movement out into Israel. It's because of the testimony of the people of Israel, and our Father showing himself through the miracle working plagues that took place. In the days that will follow, in the time of tribulation, the same reality will be our fate. So Israel passed through the Red Sea in Exodus 14. Believers pass through death into life by associating us with a death with Messiah. It says, Do you not know that as many of us were immersed into Messiah, Yeshua was immersed into Messiah Yeshua, were immersed into his death? We were therefore buried with him through immersion into death, that as Messiah was raised from dead by the esteem of the Father, so also we should walk in the newness of life. So, there's an aspect of us dying to ourselves. In Revelation 7:14 it says, Master, you know, and he said to me, these are coming out of the great tribulation, having washed their robes, made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Because of this they are before the throne of Elohim, and serve him day and night in his dwelling place. And he who sits on the throne shall spread his tent over them, and they shall hunger no more, neither thirst no more, neither shall the sun strike them, nor heat. Those realities were there at the bottom. This was their experience. And now, no more. So, there is a passing through that will happen to the people of the earth, so that the set apartness, the holiness of our Father can be seen in his glory that will be shown across the face of the earth. But while the nations are being judged and things are going difficult across the earth, as the manna sustained Israel in the wilderness, so we will realize all the more that Yeshua is the bread of life that he is speaking of in John 6, where he says that I am the bread of life, and he who comes to me shall not get hungry at all, and he who believes in me shall not get thirsty at all. I spoke to Dina some time ago, and she says that the lady that's working for her is a believer, and she goes through a period of fasting, and when she gets hungry, she says that she's reading the Word, because the Word is the bread of life. And when she experiences hunger, this is a reminder of her to be fed with the Word of our Father, so that she can be nourished and that she can grow in who He is. And that's such a beautiful picture for us, for me, is that as we are being saturated by our desire to be fed by the Word of our Father, so we grow closer to Him every day. But in time to come, there will be a hidden manna that will be the portion of the overcomer, when Revelation says, he who is an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the assemblies. To him who overcomes, I shall give hidden manna to eat, and I shall give him a white stone, and the stone is a new name that will be written that no one knows. I often wonder, is it his name? Maybe you can help me. And I shall give him a white stone. Okay? We know that. All right, great show. And on the stone a renewed name written, which no one knows except him who receives it. What is the opinion there? Who's got an opinion on that one? Anyone? I don't have an answer, so I don't know. Who knows? Is that the name of the believer? A new name of a believer? Or is that the name of the one who redeems and saves that no one will know the name of? I see you, so not everybody together, please. Okay, let's leave that as a mystery. Yes? Yeah, okay, so the translators chose to make that name a capital letter as an indication of what they think it is. I'm not sure, so I don't know. If you ever find out, please let me know, because I just don't know. The aspect of living water from a rock. We know that Israel was sustained through their travels through the rock that brought water, which Moshe that he struck twice, actually, unfortunately. Living water flows through the Spirit that Messiah says that He is. On the last day of the festival of Sukkot, He says, if anyone thirsts, let him come to me, and let him who believes in me drink. As the scripture says, out of his innermost being will flow rivers of living water. Out of the innermost being of Messiah, living water flows. So, if you think exactly where it's coming from, Revelation 22:1 says, He showed me a river of water of life, clear as crystal, coming from the throne of Elohim and of the Lamb. So where does the water come from that Messiah spoke about? From the throne of Elohim. So that will be the water that sustains us when the rain doesn't come. Our Father's word and His presence is maintained through the time of Moses. Matthew 5-7 says that Messiah came to fulfill the word that was spoken. That fulfill means to explain it to us, to fill it up with meaning, so that we can walk in the reality of what is the written word wants to teach us, how it impacts and influences our daily lives, our values, and how our lives are changed by the revelation that the Spirit brings to the written word, so that it can be written on our hearts and that our lives can be changed. You can read the text afterwards. So, Revelation 21 says that our Father dwells fully with His people from those days forward. It says, "And I heard a loud voice from the heaven saying, see the tabernacle." Remember that word booth is tabernacle. What is in the tabernacle? What's hidden in the tabernacle, in the most holy place? It's the Ark of the Covenant. It is the character of our Father exemplified in the living words. It is the bowl of manna. It is everything that His existence denotes. And we know in the time of Revelation at the end, it says, the booth of our Father, the tabernacle of our Father is with men, and He will dwell with them. They shall be His people, and Elohim Himself shall be with them and be the Elohim. And tears will be wiped away. There will be no more death, no mourning, no crying. And there shall be no more pain, for the former matters have passed away. This is the final redemption. And we are going through cycles of redemption. First it was Israel extracted from a physical place, a physical Israel extracted, brought into Eretz Israel. Then Messiah came. He is drawing out of our worldly experiences away from the Father. He brought us into an understanding of the kingdom that we can enjoy now, living out the principles of the kingdom in the Word, worshipping our Father. But there is a time coming where there's a transition being made from living across the face of the earth into the physical kingdom that our Father will bring. Our Father, Moses interceded for Israel in Exodus 32, when after the golden calf incident, Yeshua intercedes for us as the high priest appointed in the Father's temple. He says that He's ever living to make intercession for those that are saved. And then, as Messiah made intercession for us during these days, at the end, through the prayers that are brought up, through the incense that Messiah has brought before the Father as the high priest, the vindication will take place. Songs of redemption. The Song of Moses happened after the time coming through the Red Sea, when they passed through death, basically through the Red Sea. There was no possible humanly way through this experience. Our Father created an opportunity for them for deliverance. In Exodus 15:1 it says that they sang, Moses and the children of Israel sang the song to Adonai and spoke, saying, I sing to Him, and He is highly exalted after the horse and rider was thrown into the sea. There will be a song in Revelation 5:9 of the salvation of Messiah, where they sing a song saying, You are worthy to take the scroll and to open its seals, because You were slain and redeemed us to Elohim by Your blood out of every tribe, tongue, people, and nation. And then in 15:3, they sang the song of Moses, the servant of Elohim, and the song of the Lamb. It came together in the reality of the final redemption. And then there is a final destination. In the time of Moses, they went to the promised land. They went to Eretz Israel. The message of the kingdom that Messiah brought, He says that I appoint unto you a kingdom, even as my Father appointed unto me, that you may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom, and you shall sit on thrones judging the 12 tribes. So in our experience today, we are living in the kingdom reality. It says the kingdom is here, but not yet completely. We are reaching out for the realities of the kingdom. We are taking the words of life and through the understanding of the Ruach and infusing that and making it part of our lives so that our lives can be changed and renewed, living in the realities that our Father is bringing. But the kingdom is not physically here yet. But there is a time at the end when the kingdom will be fully revealed and that we will live on a reality that's in our Father's presence. And if you are confused by that word conclusion of this train of thought. So, Messiah is revealed from the Torah to the Gospels to Revelation. Right from the very beginning, from the foundation, the message is the same. It says, bring yourselves before me, obey my word, subject yourself before me. Take the word that I've given you, my revealed character, turn to me, accept me as your Elohim. And if you do, then I will be your Redeemer and you will be part of my household. The words of our Father stands from the very beginning. Jeremiah 1, even the prophecy of the new covenant stands on making sure we know that the words that was given in the beginning, when was it given? Was it given by Moses in the mount, or by our father at Mount Sinai? What about this one? What about Abraham? In Genesis 26:5. Let me just remind you. Genesis 26:5, for you don't know. If I can find it. I think it's in the Old Testament. It says, I am going to do this because Abraham did what I told him to do. He kept my instructions, he kept my mitzvot, my commandments, he kept my statutes, and he kept my laws. Remember, the character of the Father never changes. Although it was given at Mount Sinai, it doesn't mean that it didn't exist before. The same realities exist from the creation up to the end, because it's the revealed character of our Father. It's not a set of laws that we need to work through and understand to be acceptable. It is we are being changed and transformed into the image of the Messiah, the Son of the living Elohim. Those who bless Abraham, Abraham's children in our case, will be blessed. And I think as we are moving on in our days, that is going to become a greater reality. This is going to unveil the truth that what our father said in the beginning, he was serious about. There's nothing changing. Those who bless Abraham will be blessed. Those who curse Abraham's children will be cursed. And this is a reality I think that's going to unfold in the days ahead. So, I think we are set up for these days of confrontation. The world is in a mood for confrontation. Everywhere we see people are grumbling and preparing themselves. But it's not a confrontation between nations, although it looks and it appears to be the case. It is a confrontation that will culminate at the end as a confrontation between light and darkness. And as we are going forward with this confrontation, it will become clearer, that the division will become clearer between who's who. So, we know that in the olden days, in the days of when Israel was first in the land, all the wars that people fought was going through Israel. All the wars of Greece, when the Assyrians were fighting the Greco-Roman world, everybody went through Israel. When Babylon came along, Israel was in the middle. All the battles of civilizations that raged in the beginning, Israel was at the center. In the battle that we are going into, in the battle that the world is facing, Israel sits at the center. And this will become clearer as we live in these days. If Israel is at the center, and the choice of life and death is, do we worship the God of Israel or not? What does it mean for us, and how are we going to live this out in future? What did Israel do when they lived in Egypt, when the judgment that was on the nation of Egypt, how did they experience it? What was it? I was lying awake at night this past week, and we're always looking at the experience of the unrighteous, those who are judged. Remember, those who receive the boils and everything. What was Israel's experience? How did they sleep at night? Did they need a little chemical help to sleep? Or were they totally comfortable and trusting in? I think it started out shaky. Remember they experienced the first 3 plagues with Egypt. But as it progressed, they saw that the division between the judgments on Egypt and the calling for worship and honor and dedication and worship to our Father, this was becoming clearer as they went forward. And I'm convinced that in our day, this is going to be the case as well. So what will your purpose and my purpose be in the days ahead, when the nations roar? Is to proclaim the message of the good news of Messiah, and who is the apple of his eye. I think if we can maintain that simple focus, then we'll be okay. What was the believers in the apostolic scriptures experience? Remember when they were living in Israel at the time, the Roman Empire was the governing nation. And things were not easy. People were martyred, they were crucified, they were persecuted. How much of these realities and how much of the negative reports do we see in the New Testament? How much of that do we see? About zero, about nothing. Because they were so focused on the goodness that the Father brought. They were focused on His mercy, His provision, and Him taking care of them. So maybe this is an example for us. If we look at the events of this day, the negative reports, the things that causes doubt, that causes fear maybe, that shouldn't be part of our testimony, our discussion. What should fill our hearts and our minds and our mouths is the reality of what our Father is doing in the earth. If that was the case in the first 2 groups, what about the tribulation believers? It might be that we are the tribulation believers. Are our hearts fully prepared to stand when what's happening in Iran happens in South Africa? So, I do think that as we progress, that the curtain is being drawn aside in the prophetic timeline. And as the nations are starting to be set up against one another, that we will see more of the clarity of what our Father brings. Remember, Joel is still there. It's still a book that's valid for our experience in the end, where it says that we will start to have visions and dreams, and that the Father will show us the way to go, as long as we are found in Him. But what is true and what is definitely the case is the current world order is being shaken. And everything that can be shaken will be shaken. That's what the Father says. Everything will be shaken. All values of democracy, all values that the world has brought itself up in this last while will be tested. The question is, how will we stand? As individuals and as a group within the system of, can I say, an evil system? I think we live in an evil system. How are we positioned in our lives and in our hearts to stand before our Father, to be victorious as overcomers at the end, not being testimony, not bringing testimony of what's happening in the world, but bringing testimony of what the Father is doing amidst all the pressure and the things that's taking place. Remember, like kind finds like kind. That's always the case. You'll find even in a group like this, people whose hearts have got the same expression, the same values, they will be drawn to a group. And this happens. It's a natural gravitational flow to like kind people. And this is why this is lovely to be involved in a group like this that is virtually feeling about the values of our Father, feeling the same way. And we can encourage one another and stand with one another in these days. But unfortunately, nations are gravitating to like mind and like kind. And we are sitting in a nation that's flowing in a direction, and we are trying to swim upstream on this side, and the rest is just flowing. So we are praying for the Father's intervention in our nation, and so that His light may shine even in our lives. But there is coming a time. So this is the end of, let's just look at how Moses and Yeshua and the Lamb, how did it play out in the cycle of redemption? In the times that are ahead, there is 4 specific categories of things that's taking place. And I don't know if some of these are already shown themselves or cycles of fulfillment of these that has taken place. But remember, when difficulties hit the face of the earth, the people in Goshen, the people in the presence of our Father will be protected, provided for, cared for, when we stand together in unity and with our Father. So, I don't think any one of you anyone argue with this point. I don't know the period, I don't know the timeline, I can't see in the future, but I definitely know in the days to come, the world is heading towards judgment. And if you look at the cycle that we saw in the deliverance from Egypt, it was the proclamation of the Father's kingdom. It was the proclamation of what our Father wants Israel to do, the nations, the believers of the earth. What He wants to do, go out and worship Me, honor My name, and then the world resists. And when the world resists and mistreats them, they will be judged. And as they are judged, our Father will show Himself to be strong. And as He shows Himself to be strong, His name will be glorified, and people will be encouraged. The Erev Rav will join Israel, and we will all go to a time where we will honor His name through His provision, through His care, and through His leading. So, I was thinking about the mark of the beast versus the mark. I know this teaching has got different areas. I'm sorry, it's not a typical one line. It's sort of 4,000 years of experience of the earth. So there is a mark. Who heard of the mark that people will receive in the time to come? Hanley heard that. Well done, Rosie as well. So for you who don't know, did you know that the nations will require a mark on each person's hand or forehead, or hand and forehead? Do you know about it? You must, because you shouldn't receive it when it comes. What does it look like? This is the problem. Okay? The thing is, you and I can say about a chip and a D and a die, it doesn't matter. This mark that we're receiving is positioning ourselves in a relationship to our Father. And what our Father thinks about this is what's important. You're going to be brought to a place of decision. This is not something that you're going to receive by accident. You go down the street, you go make a turn in the post office, they give you something, you take it, it's yours, and you put it on your hand. Suddenly you are now there. This is an active, conscious decision that you will take in the time to come. What does it look like? Well, Revelation 13 speaks about the mark of the beast, that everyone who receive it falls out of favor with our Father. Can I put it mildly like that? Okay, do you agree? If you receive the mark of the beast, you are going to fall out of favor with our Father. For this experience, I don't know what the future look like. The Father will have interventions in your life. The Father will still continues to love every human being way into the future. But this will impact your experience. Definitely so. Revelation 14:1 speaks about the mark of Yotevave that we will receive. What is the mark of our Father? That's more important than the mark of the beast. What is that mark? Just show me one hand, two hands, and I can choose the one. The blood of the Lamb is an answer. What does Anneli say? I didn't hear that, sorry. Okay, the sealing of the Ruach, the Holy Spirit. Okay, anyone else? Pardon? 7. Okay, 7, that's an interesting answer. Speaking about the 7 spirits, maybe, the sealing of the context of the Spirit, okay? Okay, so we are obedient to the word of our Father. It is a call to obedience. Can I put it like that? Into the word of our Father? I agree with all of that decisions. There's another one. Where's the one? Ja, ek het gesê, maar sy wou toe nie antwoord nie. Lloyd. Right, she's going to have a story, so I'm going to give her a mic.
In my denke is dit soos wat ons die bevel gekry het in die Torah, wat sê ons moet dit op ons voorhoof en op ons hand sit. Jou denke, jou menswees, jou gedrag, jou alles gaan wys
wie is en wat
realiteit in die kamp jy staan.
Yes, so that's why it's on your head and your arm, because it is your thoughts and your actions. It includes your expression as a person. But what is the choice? What is the possible choice that we can make as human beings that is going to bring us into favor, fellowship with the Father, or disassociate us? What was and I think it comes back to what was said to Abraham. Abraham was told in Genesis 12 to say, those who bless you will be blessed, and those who curse you will be cursed. We are either going to stand in the place of blessing, or we're going to stand in the place of being cursed. So this is a mark that will determine how our Father views you. And if we think about that reality, I think, remember, our Father always views the end from the perspective of the beginning. And if he introduces the covenant to Abraham in regard to we should love our Father with all of our hearts and all of our minds and all of our beings. Okay? Be obedient to Him. Be obedient to Him in His ways. That which He has revealed His character, transform your life into the realities of His character so that we can be changed and renewed into the image of the Son. Okay, that's what we are called to. But there's another choice that we are making. How do we align ourselves with the nations of the earth? If we are choosing against our Father and against Israel, we're in trouble. That I can tell you. This was revealed to Abraham. There it is. The curse and the blessing is in how we live and experience this system with our Father. And I'm convinced that if we are making a decision against the values of our Father and against Israel, we're going to be in a compromised place. That will change the attitude of the Father towards you. But if you are choosing for our Father, being obedient with to His word, living in a life led by the Ruach, with a testimony of being saved by the Lamb of Messiah, and we are blessing His people, being part of the process of becoming the part of the 2 sticks that's becoming one in His hand in Ezekiel 38, I think we're in a good place. That's the best of my understanding at this point. It's not choosing medicine above not medicine. I'm sorry to say. That's just not it. So, okay. Dangerous ground, but let's just proceed. Our Father says in Genesis 10 that the nations are formed under His direction, that He fixes the boundaries of the nations. In Acts 17 He says that He is determining the nations' times and their dwelling places. Nothing that's happening on the earth is a surprise for the Father at the moment. Everything is in His hands. And whatever happens in the world is part of the plan that's being revealed at the end that will show His glory and His goodness versus humanly wisdom and stories. The nations exist by our Father's design, not by human ambition. And doesn't matter the geography or the history or what group, ethnic group we are falling under our Father. We are under His ultimate governance. We can be a rebel in the place of His governance, or we can work with Him and be a citizen of the kingdom. But our Father is the one that is in control. And this is a scripture that I quickly put in this morning because we just can't do without it. It says, go through the gates twice, clear a way for the people, build up. And the Hebrew word there for build up is solu. And that's where the group Solu finds their name. Okay, so build up the highway and remove the stones. Lift up a flag over the people, the peoples, the goyim, the tribes. Behold, Yotevave is proclaimed to the end of the earth. Say to the daughter of Zion, behold, your salvation is coming, and behold, His reward is with Him, and His compensation is before Him. And they will call them holy people, the redeemed of Yotevave, and you will be called sought out, a city not abandoned. So there is a highway that is being built. Do you know where the idea of a highway starts with the sulam. Sulam is a ladder. The word for ladder mentioned once in the Tanakh, and it's mentioned in the experience of Jacob when a ladder is set up at the place of Bethel. The word sulam is mentioned, and it's only that one time, and it is a place of setting up, of going up, of lifting up. It is a place of communication between our Father and humanity. Okay, so there is a let me see if I can find it. It's coming from the verb salal. That's right, I forgot that. It's coming from the ladder, sulam. It's coming from the verb salal, which means to raise up, to build up, to put ourselves in a good place. But it is also the word for highway, because that word, it says, Behu ayom, that word there, it's in that day, there shall be a highway, and the word for highway is meshilal. And that highway comes from the same place where the ladder comes from. It comes from the same place of put your eyes, lift up your eyes unto the Father. So there will be a highway built. If it is, why is it ever called a highway? What does the word highway mean? What do you think? It's a way higher than the rest, isn't it? So a highway works like this. It is not on surface level completely, because if it is and big rains come, what will happen? It will be flooded, it will be taken away. It is a road that is lifted up from the surface of the earth. It's a higher way that we are walking, and we are called to have a highway so that we can lift up our eyes to see where the Father is leading us. It is a way higher than the ways of the earth. And it's interesting where it goes, because it says, in that day there shall be a highway out of Egypt to Assyria. And the Assyrian shall come into Egypt, and the Egyptian into Assyria. And the Egyptians shall worship with the Assyrians. Who will they worship? They will worship our Father, okay? The Egyptians shall worship with the Assyrians. And in that day shall Israel be the third. We need to think about this a little bit. In that day shall Israel be the third. He will be a third portion with Egypt and with Assyria, a blessing in the midst of the earth. Israel will be a third portion of the blessing that is brought into the earth. For that Yehovah of hosts has blessed them, saying, Blessed be Egypt, my people, and Assyria, the work of my hands, and Israel, my, what is the word for inheritance there? Maybe Mariki can remember. But it is my inheritance, and the word is linked to my land, to my country. That word for inheritance is linked to the land experience. So there are three things that's happening with the Middle East at the moment, is that the countries of the Middle East are set up to become this. And this is what's busy happening, is our Father has blessed them and saying, Blessed be Egypt, my people, blessed be Assyria, the work of my hands, and blessed be Israel, my inheritance. And together they are going to influence and bring the glory of the kingdom over the earth. So there's a time when this will happen, and the time that that will happen is in that day. And that day is a day that we are awaiting. And I think we are seeing the dawning of a day like this in our lives. Because if you think where this plays itself out, this is a map of, this was the Assyrian Empire, and the different green shades of greens are the shrinking and the expanding empire, so don't worry about that. But if you follow the picture there, it is Elam. The word Elam is in Jeremiah, and this is the prophecy that we've just read. It's the prophecy to Elam. And who are Elam in the world today? The people of Iran. They are predominantly the people of Elam. And Elam is spoken of a people that will be the work of our Father's hands. And they are connected by this highway to Egypt, because Egypt will worship with Elam and Elam will worship with Egypt. Who's in the middle though? It's emanating from that little piece of land there. Because in everything that's happening in the earth today, with the shaking that is taking place, who is in the center of this? In most cases, and in every case, it's Israel. That's in the middle of the shaking. So when the nations roar and the people sets itself up for failure and the darkness is with light, it's always focused around Egypt's experience. One interesting thing is who walked this road before? Ur of the Chaldees is just there. So if we are saying that we are returning to the initial experience and values, everything that's said in the beginning will happen in the end. Avram was called out of Elam, and he walked this road. He walked through Aram, and he walked into Israel where he was staying, and then he made a brief visit in Egypt. This is the exact road that Abraham walked, and his children will walk it after him. So in Jeremiah 49:34 it says, For the word of Yehovah that came to Jeremiah the prophet concerning Elam, in the beginning of the reign of Zedekiah the king of Yehuda, that is the previous picture, that is Elam, that's the portion of Elam, and that is actually the whole of Iran is sitting about there. And Tehran is over there, and we know that Tehran is running empty because it has already run empty of water. So the people concentration is at the bottom there. So verse 35, Thus says Jehovah of hosts, Behold, I will break the bow of Elam and the chief of their might. What are we seeing at the moment? What is the primary mode of warfare that Iran is standing on in its deepest desire to break Israel? What is the primary mode of warfare? Missiles. shooting them over like it's done countless times in this last year or two. But our Father says, behold, I will break the strength, I will break the bow of Elam, the chief of their might. Psalm 33 says, a king is not saved by the size of his army, and our Father breaks the bow of military pride. Zechariah says that he cuts off the war bow. So our Father has done that many times before, and he is speaking of when he's breaking the bow of the people, then he's breaking their strength, he's demolishing them. And that's why when the Antichrist comes, what does he ride with on his white horse? He's riding with a bow without an arrow. Okay. No power. So our Father won't only defeat the enemies, He won't just take their weapons of warfare away. He will dismantle them completely so that they can change and turn around from their current value set of being arrogant and rebellious against Him to set them into a place where they can bow the knee before them. So this is something that the nations must learn, is that the nations, humanity is fragile if we are set ourselves up in competition or try to exalt ourselves before and over our Father. Jeremiah 49:36, it carries on with that trend, that theme. It says, and upon Elam I will bring the four winds from the four quarters of heaven, from all nations of the earth except for South Africa. There will be judgment. And I will scatter them towards all of those winds. Well, that might be true. And there shall be no nation where the outcast of Elam shall not come. There's a scattering that's in the pipeline for Elam. And in whatever we are seeing in the current experience of Iran, I think it's going to worsen to the point where a scattering is going to take place, and where the nations of the earth will house them and take care of them. And I will cause Elam to be dismayed before their enemies and before them that seek their life, and I will bring evil upon them, even my fierce anger, says Yotevaphe. And I will send the sword after them, and till I have consumed them. So, are they blessed or are they being cursed? Have they chosen for Israel or chosen against Israel? This is something the nations must take note of. If you've got a budget speech that you want to deliver in Parliament, just look at the foundational work that you have done already. So, this is, verse 38 is interesting. It says, I will set my throne in Elam, our Father says, and I will destroy from them the kings and princes, says Yotevaphe. What would that mean? What do you think? Tannie Rina het antwoord. Authority. They have set, the Ayatollah and his friends have set themselves up as an authority above what our Father is saying. So the authority of righteousness and justice of our Father will be set up in this country, and his throne of governance will be set up in Elam, and whatever their experience at the moment is will be taken away. Because they have made a choice against our Father. And that scattering in divine rule is they are only an example of what's going to take place over the earth and the choices that the world is making. Daniel 4:35 says that our Father does according to His will among the nations. Whatever our Father said is going to happen will happen among the nations. That scattering, remember what the context of Deuteronomy 28 is, blessing and curse? That scattering is covenant judgment. So if you have chosen against, then you will be judged. This is just the reality of what the world will experience. The Father will, Isaiah says, will humble the pride of the ruthless. And I think those that have set themselves up against will be brought low. That's why I'm saying, as there's a choice to be made in the lives of believers and the lives of people. Are we choosing for Yotevaphe, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? and we are choosing to bless the nation that's the apple of His eye, or are we cursing them? That will have an impact in our experience. So, earthly thrones will fall and our Father's throne will stand. This is the eventual reality. But then in verse 39 of that same chapter, it says, but it shall come. There's always a but. In our Father's telling of a story, in His experience, there's always a but. It shall come to pass in the latter days that I will bring back the captivity of Elam. They will come back, says Yotevafe. So how will they come back, and on what grounds will they come back? When they have bowed the knee to our Father, when they have been restored, and when they are positioning themselves in the text that we have read, that the Father says, they will be my handiwork. Remember, it says of Elam, that they will be the one that I'm saying, they are my handiwork, Egypt will be my people, and Israel my inheritance, as a blessing for the experience of the rest of the tribes of the earth. So Elam is not erased, and they won't be erased, but they will be disciplined and preserved. What the people of Iran is experiencing at the moment is a discipline, but they will be preserved. Even at the outset, at the time of Shavuot, when the Spirit was poured out in Acts, Elam, people from Elam was present. There is one of the 15 people groups that were present. Think where they came from, by the way. How long were they walking? You know? I had some camel experience in Israel. This is a day's ride. I don't know. It's slowly. But they were there. It shows you the intent and the effort and what was in their hearts to honor our Father at the time of Shavuot. In Isaiah, it says, of Isaiah 19, which I think we've read that, it says that former enemies to our Father is now included in the blessing. Revelation, it says that every nation will be gathered before the throne, even those that have chosen against our Father. So what we need to learn from this story is that we must make a choice for our Father, for His principles, for His nation, for walking with Him, for unity of the believing community. Judgment that will take place is going to be felt in the earth. It's going to be felt. But mercy has the final word. The mercy of the Lamb on the throne, the redemption of the Lamb, that will be our last experience. That is that for the message for Iran at the moment is our Father is going to break their bow. That's a given. That their military strength, the reason for them exalting themselves over the nations that surround them, that will disappear. But He's not going to destroy them, but He is going to bring them back when they are ready and they make choices for Him. So, our Father says in Psalm 103:19, He says, Yehovah established His throne in heaven, and His kingdom rules over all. And that will not be the final of it. Leonard Cohen sang the song, the anthem. It's not a spiritual song, but there's a beautiful part in it. It says, there is a crack in everything, and that's how the light gets in. So when the nation starts to crack and crumble, it is not falling apart. It is falling in place. The Father is bringing His light, shining into the night, to darkness. And He's shining His light into the darkness of existence of the nations today. And all of this unrighteousness and injustice and evil that is before the Father will crumble and quake and disappear. And if we live as true testimonies of the kingdom and examples of sons and daughters of the Most High, then we will be part of that light. That when in a discussion, when people are with emotion speaking about what's happening in the earth, that we can play a positive part and showing the goodness and the character of our Father and not adding fuel to the fire. I think I'm ending off with Romans 5:3. It says, and not only so, but we also rejoice in our tribulations. That's going to come. But if we are aligned with our Father in His values and His provision, we will rejoice in our tribulations, knowing that tribulation works perseverance. Perseverance brings forth character, and character brings hope. So, I know we're speaking about judgment and darkness and gloom and difficulty. But if you look at the news, doesn't matter where you tune your channel to, even the Kruger Park is underwater. If you can look at all the news across the earth, and it's news about people setting themselves up against other people groups. This shouldn't cause too much stress in our lives. It should speak to our hearts and prepare us for a time of the deliverance of the King that is before our doors. So, what is the message? What Moses began in history, Messiah will fulfill at the cross, overcoming death. But in eternity, the Lamb will complete it. So we are busy returning to the garden that was lost. We are saved only by grace that Messiah brought for us. But we are making decisions every day. Decisions of death or decisions of life. Deuteronomy 28 says, you choose. I set before you today life and death. You choose. So, in these days, we're living in increasingly drastic days. The times are getting fiercer. That's not a word I know. But it's getting drastic in our days, and our hearts and our lives should be prepared. I'm not saying go to Spar and buy the whole thing to prepare so that you know you've got enough produce. I'm saying our hearts and our lives should be prepared so that our testimony is correct, that our experience at our hearts are at shalom with what's happening on the earth, that the Father is speaking to us, that the reality is when He pours is a final pouring out of His Spirit, like in the days that Joel has promised, that our lives will be positioned so that we can be the ambassadors of the kingdom that He is preparing us to be. And for that to be true, it means that we need to be totally engaged in our purpose for this place. Our Father has placed us here. We need to shine that little bit of light where the cracks are starting, and there's cracks in our community. Our call is to be the light. So I want to end with this Psalm 68. Let's just read it together. It says, may our Father arise, may His enemies be scattered, and may those who hate Him flee from His presence. As smoke is driven away, so drive them away. As wax melts before a fire, so the wicked will perish before our Father. But the righteous will be joyful. They will rejoice before Elohim. Yes, they will rejoice with gladness. Sing to God, sing praises to His name, and exalt who rides through the deserts, whose name is Yotevaveh, and be jubilant before Him. As we're reading through the plagues of Egypt and their experience, this is the world's experience for the days to come. And let us be the Israel that brings light when when Egypt is in darkness. Let us bring that light. Let light be in our. It says that light was found in their dwellings, not in the whole of Goshen. It wasn't a beam of light that shone on Goshen. There were light in their dwellings. So let the light of our Father be in our dwellings, so that when the people are looking at your life, that they see the light of the Father, and they will be drawn to the light. Father, we praise You for the examples in Scripture that You have given us to prepare our lives for the days that we are living in. Thank You, Father, that this parasha of Vayera is the revealing of the Messiah. It is a revealing of the Messiah as revelations are the revealing of the Messiah in the days that we are living in. So help us and guide us, give us Your peace. Write Your word on our hearts, Father, that we should choose life in every step of the way. Help us to have Your compassion and Your grace and Your mercy in our lives, so that people will be drawn to You. Help us not to be arrogant, and to think we know it all, but help us to live lives that are compassionate, loving, and caring, and showing the way to you in the days that we are living in. Help us to proclaim a message of unity so that we can be united with the rest of your flock. With Israel, Father, the two sticks revealed in your hand in Ezekiel 38. Father, help us in these days to put our own agendas, our own arrogance, everything that we are clinging on, help us to put that down so that we can live in the truth of the message that you're calling us to proclaim in this day. We thank you and we praise in the name of your Son, Yeshua. Help us in each day, each decision, each step that we are taking to be transformed into the image of your Son so that we can be true ambassadors of the kingdom. In the name of Yeshua, we ask this. Amen.